Thank you. Oh, welcome, Kasha. Oh. Welcome. Just so you know, I don't know if he can see us, but he's driving, so let's not distract him. Okay. Once I minimize this.
I think what Abby had to do was drive. It was all through, like.
So bizarre. Okay. Okay, there we go. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we're gonna start every morning at 8 o'clock. If you can't come right at 8 o'clock, please still come. I just ask that we try to respect each other, and we don't have like, there's not a whole lot of time, right? We have 2 hours of in-class time to do a lot of things, to learn a lot of things. So please, if you have to come late, just come in, get settled. But do try to be here for this time. It's a 3 credit hour class. Which means we're here for 2 of the hours, and one of the hours that, like, because it's 3 credit hours, one of those hours of learning is going to be done at home. You guys do on your own time. And I just want to review general college credits, like every 1 hour of credit should be about 2 hours of reading, homework, kind of adding into that learning. So even though we're only here in 2 hours of like a week, there's actually quite a bit of learning and reading and other things that we'll be doing throughout the week. Also, since this is my first kind of real class I get to like have with you guys, I just want to kind of level set just some expectations with you. Like I said, we're all adult learners, right? So if you can't make it here because your kid is sick, your car breaks down, whatever, that's fine. I do appreciate if you let me know ahead of time, especially if you want to get where we have attendance credit for this class, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But if you don't let me know ahead of time that you can't be here, I can't give you that attendance credit, right? But if you let me know ahead of time, hey, my got a flat tire, my kid's sick, I can work with you as far as helping you make up that credit. Is that gonna make sense? I encourage you to eat and drink in class. Whatever it takes to keep your mind engaged and keep your belly full and your, heart happy. There is a coffee maker, a Keurig in the kitchenette down the hall. So if you bring your little K-Pods, you can make some coffee. Yeah, so please do that. What else? We'll go over our weekly kind of flow. I do like to every class kind of put a little bit about what we're going to be doing every day so that you guys know kind of what to expect because it's a short time, right? It's not very long. We'll probably just have 1 break in class, but if you need to go to the bathroom, like please go, like just go and then come back. We'll get you caught up with whatnot. I love questions and interactive pieces in class. However, if it gets too individualized, if it's just something that's really just for one person, I might just say, hey, let's talk about this after class so that we can really focus on the things that will kind of benefit the whole class. And then I'll meet with you afterwards and get everything caught up. Let's go over syllabus, and then I'll go over a little bit of the class structure. So most of you guys have done your syllabus acknowledge quiz already, but I just want to go over a few things with you. So this is the Canvas homepage. If you go to modules, actually, I'm going to go back to my homepage because my homepage sometimes looks different than other people's. It just depends. Here, it kind of tells you a little bit about the course, some important dates. You can also go to the weekly modules here, or you can just click on modules up on the screen over here, up to you. So every week in Canvas is going to have an overview, the assignments, the readings, things like that. So here on week 1 overview, if you click on that, it tells you that this week is all about critical thinking, clinical judgment, nursing process, and evidence-based practices. It tells you when and where we're having class. It also tells you readings. So I want you just to be like, I do give you specific pages and reading because I don't want to just say, hey, read all of these chapters, because sometimes that can get overwhelming. Some of these, I will say, I think one of them, like I think 9 through 13 might be the whole chapter. But other chapters, like chapter 3, I split it up because you don't need to read for what I'm wanting to teach you. You don't have to have the whole chapter. So I do try to limit your reading, or as far as keep it to the things that I feel are really important. And then I also have your assignments listed in this, in the overview page. They're also in the course module as well. We're going to talk a little bit about course learning or student course learning outcomes in a little bit. But one thing I do want to emphasize is that I want you to be prepared for class, meaning you're going to have readings and assignments due on the day of class. Hey, Ukasha, if you don't mind muting your audio, we're just getting a little bit of feedback. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, no, you're fine. So when we begin class, it's not that I am introducing all of this thing, all these concepts and material to you for the first time. It should be that you've read about it, you've done some assignments, you've prepared to come to class, and then kind of enhance and solidify your knowledge of the material. If you don't do your reading and you kind of just do your assignments on the fly really quick the night before, you're going to struggle more, because really it's kind of a layered approach for learning. You read a little bit about it, you do some assignments about it, kind of review it more, and then you come to class and we get to do more things together. That really helps to build your foundation of what we're studying. Whereas you don't really prepare as well, you're not going to get as much out of it. I do have a couple of things in this Canvas course. There's the peer-to-peer open forum. This is a discussion board that I do not moderate, but it doesn't have anything on here right now because nobody's done anything yet. But if you have a general question, that's not necessarily for me, but it's for about your peers. Maybe you're like, hey guys, in class, this happened or something, and I thought maybe one of you guys had notes. This is a place where you guys can go in and kind of have a discussion board for just this class specifically, and kind of work with each other. There's also the instructor discussion board, which honestly, my students haven't used this a whole lot because usually they just come and talk to me, but sometimes people feel better about just putting things on a discussion board as well. So please, if you have questions or things, know that this discussion board is also an opportunity of how to contact me. So talking about how to contact me, let's go back, excuse me, and let's look at our syllabus. Boop, boop, boop. And in the quiz, it has everything here. All right, so I'm just going to review kind of the main part of the syllabus, mostly because if you've noticed, our nursing syllabuses or syllabi are all pretty much exactly the same after you hit like page 5. Like it goes over like all of the policies, all like for the nursing program as well as the school. So I'm going to hit kind of the main parts because I don't want to bore you with the things that you already saw a bunch last term. All right. Office hours, I usually will be here about 7 beforehand. I'm also available right after class as well. So, but in the break between pharmacology, I'm available to meet. I made those times specifically because that's when you guys are going to be here on campus. But just let me know if you need to meet another time. I'm here on campus throughout the week as well as available on Zoom. So please just let me know. I'll work out times to get together with you if you need some individualized help. Amanda's also available by appointment. One thing is that we usually will respond to emails between 24 and 48 hours. On the weekends, it might take a little bit longer because occasionally we might turn off our computers or just kind of step away for a little bit. So just know if you need something over the weekend, it might take just a little bit longer. Course description, we're going to learn about MedSurg conditions with fluid and electrolyte disorders, infection, inflammation, pain, pre-op and post-op care. We're going to talk about not only the disease conditions, but also some pharmacological therapies. You guys are taking pharmacology this summer as well, but pharmacology doesn't teach you about every single medicine. That would be impossible. Pharmacology, when you go this afternoon, is going to teach you about overviews of medications. They're going to teach you about some medication classes, but in your MedSurg courses and in your other like OB-Peds, that's where we go more in detail of specific medications. So when we talk about medications in these classes, please don't blow that off to be like, oh, that's just pharmacology, because you need to know these medications. Pharmacology just kind of is going to give you a background and a backbone structure of how to understand pharmacology and medications. If I have to change the syllabus, I'll let you know. Outcomes. I just wanted to review a little bit with you guys because every cohort gets a little confused with our outcomes. And as you progress through the course and the program, that becomes a little more, you might understand a little more. So we have course learning outcomes. That's for this course. That's what we want you to learn for just MedSurg 1. That feeds into our program student learning outcomes. The program student learning outcomes are what we want you guys at the end of the program. Once you're done and you've graduated, you're going to be able to demonstrate competency in all of those program outcomes. Then we also have institutional student learning outcomes. That just means Bates Technical College as a whole has said, we want to see our students when they graduate be able to demonstrate these things like critical thinking, human diversity, things like that. Then there's also NLN CNEA objectives. That's like National League of Nursing. So that's kind of our national governing body that says, hey, if you're teaching nurses, these are the things we want them to know. So it's kind of, I kind of see this as like this being very specific for this class. And then it gets broader to the program, then the school, and then kind of the nation of nursing. So for this class, you guys, one of the things we had to do for the quiz, if you haven't done it yet, is kind of in your own words, describe one of these objectives. So I'm going to go over these objectives in kind of my own words. So one is we're going to use critical thinking and clinical judgment when we're looking at patients when they're sick in a variety of places with a variety of illnesses. Okay, we're going to talk about critical thinking and clinical judgment a little bit later today as well. Two, we're going to demonstrate you guys are going to be able to demonstrate your role as a PN nurse, okay? Because your role is going to be different than maybe a physician, different than a respiratory therapist, different than a nursing assistant, right? We want to make sure you guys understand your role and what you're supposed to do in those things. We also really want to emphasize safety for our patients and also patient-centered care. That's going to be something we talk about through actually the whole program is that how do we make sure this is appropriate care for this patient? We want to talk about effects of culture, socioeconomics, race, and religion with patients. And then we also are going to describe ethical and legal considerations. A little bit later today, we're going to talk about death and dying, right? And that's sometimes legal and ethical concerns come into play with those things. Moving on, there's only one required textbook, the F.A. Davis. Well, I guess I put ATI on there as well. That's more for you guys to review certain things if you want to go back and be like, hey, we're talking about fluid electrolytes and somebody might need a Foley catheter for something. And what is that? How do I do that again? So that's kind of for you guys to reference. I won't be assigning things from ATI. There's a concept mapping book that's optional for you. It says second edition. I don't think it really matters what edition if you want to. And I have this book if you ever want to take a look at it. Helps you to understand concept mapping a little bit better. You need to have a laptop. I mean, honestly, all the things that you need, you should have them already because you already were in class last term. Okay. So you need a computer, you need to have paper and pen and a eager mind. I'm sure you all have that. Week by week, this week we're talking about critical thinking. We already talked about all that. Next week, we're going to be talking about growth and development and gerontology, death and dying. I think I've moved death and dying this week. Sorry, I need to fix this. Week 3, we're going to have a test. It's going to be your first test. Chuchi and I work together to make sure that we don't give you guys tests on the same week. So it might feel like you have a test or a big project or something every single week. It's kind of intentional because otherwise we did find this out once when we both were getting our classes together and we were like, oh, you have a test on week 4. I have a test on week 4. You have a test on week. I have a test on week 7. Your group project is due this week. Me too. That way you guys aren't like so stressed out because you have 2 big tests, on one. So it's going to feel like you have something happening every week and you probably will, but it actually is better, I think, for you that you don't have to be so stressed with having multiple tests on the same day. Yeah. Yeah, yep. So all the tests are going to be over in the computer lab, the same place that you had your foundations test. And it will be the same test taking policy. And I'll just be super transparent. Like I do ask everybody, if you're wearing a big puffy coat, I ask you to take it off. I give you a piece of scratch paper and a pen and I ask for it back when you're done. We're very strict. And unfortunately, because we've had to be, there's been several people in the past, none of you guys, who really have been who've demonstrated a lack of integrity with test taking. And to me, I feel as nurses, like that's one of our core values is our integrity. And so I really protect kind of that test integrity. Okay, so moving on, week 4, musculoskeletal, 5, pain and complementary therapies, 6, acid-base fluid electrolytes, 7, skin and burns, 8 is test number 2, 9, pre-post-op care, and 10 is the final. I know there's kind of a big span there where you have like no test and then a test and a final, but really it's kind of just, like I said, to spread it out through the term. Hey, make a name sign in KWL. Support class, it is part of the grade. So just like last term, you had Amanda's support class, you have it again this term. It's worth 5% of your grade. So please make sure you're engaging in that class and doing the work because it's an easy 5% to get for your total score. Your grades, how they're going to be broken down. So like I said, the support class is 5% down here. You're going to have a group project later in the term. It's a fluid and electrolyte acid-base group project. We'll talk about that when it gets closer to the time. That's worth 10% of your grade. Next week, you have an individual project. It's really a work at home. You just give me a deliverable, like something that you fill out. I'll talk about that later, but that's worth 5% of your grade. Your weekly assignments and things that you're doing to prepare to class, that's worth 20% of your grade. So please make sure you're doing those. Attendance, which KWL form. You guys all have what are the KWLs? Let's go over those real quick because this is how I track attendance. I don't do these on test days because you taking the test shows that you're there. But on the KWL forms, what I have you do as you come into class, so after today, I'm not going to be sitting up here talking about all this stuff. You're going to come into class and you're going to pick up a KWL form and you're going to write out on the K column. And you're going to say, the K is what do I know? So today you'd be talking about critical thinking, clinical judgment, issues in nursing practice. And you don't have to do that right now. We'll have them for that in a little bit. You're going to write out, what do I know about this topic? This is a learning tool that I like to use because it helps you refresh. What are those things that I read? What about those assignments that I did? What do I know about this? Then when class is done, we've had lecture, we've had group work, you go and on the W. Oh, no, sorry. When you're filling out the K, then you go to the W. What do I want to know? So maybe you thought, gosh, I kind of know this, but I don't remember about this piece. I can't remember. Fill that out on your W because then at the end of class, we fill out the L. What did I learn? Hopefully those W's that you had, the things you wanted to know, will have caught up with those. But it kind of lets you know, hey, you might need to kind of see it and say, hey, I didn't quite understand this. I didn't quite get this. Maybe you need to go back to your book and read a section again so that you make sure you do understand that part. I have you guys upload these into Canvas. If I can, some weeks I don't have the full bandwidth to read through all of them, but I try to go through and see, like I read them. So I read like, hey, what are the things that you wanted to learn? What are the things that you did learn? And I try to help direct you as far as if you're like, hey, you learned this. And I'm like, ooh, that actually that's not quite correct. And so I'll help you like kind of move you towards, hey, let's go back and read this part here. So you make sure you have the concept correctly. Most of my assignments are going to be due at the beginning of class. So after this week, when you come in next week, all of your weekly assignments are going to be due 8 o'clock before we start. That's to make sure you've done your reading, everything, you're prepared for class. The KWLs are just due at the end of the day because I don't want you to forget to do them. I encourage people, like as soon as you're done, just get in Canvas and upload that picture because that will just help you to, remember to do it. But I do want you to upload them because I think they're a really good learning tool. Any questions about KWL and using it for attendance? That's
So I know with ATI last quarter that it said on Canvas like the score you get on the test is the score that will go on Canvas, but it ended up just being if we did things at 100.
Oh yeah.
Do you do that way or do you do that?
Similar but different. Well, we'll talk about FA Davis in a minute and I'll explain what I mean. Yeah. So discussion boards, I do have several discussion boards in the course. And those just, again, level setting. In discussion boards, those are where we're interacting with each other on a digital space. Sometimes people find it easier to speak more freely, but I want to make sure that we are speaking with respect and kindness to each other. So whatever we're writing to each other, let's make sure that we would feel comfortable saying it to somebody face to face, and that we're being professional, right? Nursing is a professional profession, but we just want to make sure we're practicing for going out and working in clinicals and working with patients, even in how we're writing. Tests are worth 30% of your grade. So both the test 1 and test 2, the average, that's worth 30% of your grade. And then the final is worth 20% of your grade. I know that seems really heavy to have 50% of your grade on tests. And I'll tell you the reason why. I and Amanda and all the instructors, we can do a really good job preparing you for clinical practice. You will never break sterile technique. You will put your Foley's in first time, no issue. You'll be able to pass meds without any errors. But if we don't also train you how to take tests, you won't be able to pass the NCLEX. And if you can't pass the NCLEX, you can't have a license, you can't practice. So I don't think I feel like it would be unethical for me to have encouraged the college to take your money, but not then be able to make sure you can practice afterwards. So that's why we have tests at such a high percentage, because test taking is tough. I get it. There's some people that really struggle with test taking. And if that's an issue for you, like, please, like, come to your faculty advisor, like, let's figure out how to help you with test taking. Because the tests are going to get harder each term that you come. And the NCLEX is a lot. I just had the students sit earlier this week for a practice NCLEX, the ones that just graduated. One of them, it took him 4 hours to do this practice test. Right, that's a long time. That's stressful. But, you know, some of you, when you sit for the NCLEX, it might be 4 hours is the maximum length for the PN NCLEX. So, you know, some of you might get a 4-hour test. And I want to make sure that you guys are prepared to take that NCLEX and be successful when you do that test. So that's why, as a program, we put a pretty high importance on our tests. Any questions with that? Yeah.
Is it timed like maximum amount of time spent per question, or is that just because the person will have gotten more questions?
They'll have gotten more questions. Yeah, the NCLEX, I was just looking at that, somebody asked. It's it gives you an average of how much time per question. But because so many, like the new generation questions have like multiple questions in one question, they kind of did away with the whole like amount of time per question. And it's kind of overall. Yeah.
I had the entrance at some point it might shut down, like that's maybe some situations.
No, yeah, so the question is, if the NCLEX, sometimes it will just shut down. Does that mean you fail or not fail? So the NCLEX is always gonna shut down for everybody. It'll either shut down, I think the earliest it will shut down, the fewest questions is 85. The maximum is 180. Something more than that, I think. And essentially the NCLEX, it's an adaptive test. So it will keep testing you. And if you are weaker in one area, it'll keep asking you those questions until it makes sure that you either know and you pass, or that you don't pass. It doesn't do that for like 5 questions, right? That's why it has a minimum of 80 questions. But eventually it will shut down once it's determined. You either have for sure met competency or you haven't met competency. Yeah.
So you can either take a really fast test or it could be like a super long test.
Yes, and both of those could be passing and both of those could be failing. Yeah, shutting off at really low, mine, when I took my NCLEX, it shut off at 85 and I was 100% sure that I failed. 100% sure. I didn't, it passed. I'm very excited. But you don't know when it shuts off. You don't know. Fortunately, I had to wait for several weeks because that was over 20 years ago.
Facebook they take their
Yes.
and they're so scared when it shuts off.
There's now a way, they usually tell you within a week, but you can pay like $7 and you can find out like the next day. Anyway, okay, let's get back on track. So I want to make sure we cover our content today. Grading scale, just in case you ever want to know what your percentage equals in a the like points, like a 4.0 is the highest you can get. We talk about iBest. Okay, this is kind of where it gets to all the pieces, but I do want to make sure you guys know about late work. If you're going to be late with an assignment, a test, anything, please let me know before that assignment, test, whatever is due. If you do that, then I can give you extensions on it. If you don't tell me at all, then your grade's a 0. Okay, so please let me know, work with me, tell me what's going on, because I want to be able to give you grace, but I'm also bound to the syllabus policy, because it's not just my policy, it's the nursing programs policy. Use electronic devices. Oh, a lot of times students will record classes. They don't do it as much since I record on my own as well. But if you do want to record, what do you have to do? Ask me, and then make sure you kind of let the people around you know as well, right? Because legally, we have to get the consent of people around us to record. Not all states are like that, but in Washington, that is one of the laws here. I'm not going to go into the rest of the syllabus because it's just kind of the college general policies. I don't want to waste your guys' time unless, does anybody have any question about syllabus? Not so much. Okay. Let's go into the weekly modules again, and we'll talk about FA Davis. I know a lot of you guys have been in FA Davis already and done some of the work. Yay. Well, I said a lot, not everybody. So you should, on the book list, it did have the FA Davis MedSurg book. So this is the book right here that you should get. If you're confused, you're like, wait a second, what was I supposed to get? If you go to the welcome module, it has FA Davis, your textbook and online resource. If you click on this, it has how to purchase it, and it also has our class ID for Davis Advantage. Yeah.
So when I did mine, I did it for pharmacology first, and then she uses Davis Advantage. So when I went back to Edge, it won't let me unless I buy a whole new thing. So I'm kind of confused and I can't get to the quizzing either.
You should have your own code for the MedSurg, like in the.
Oh, yes.
Did you scratch off the little code thing?
But no, because it said it's already been redeemed for advanced.
Let's work after class because the package, like that was on the book list, it includes like a bunch of FA Davis resources. In fact, you'll see if you bought the package that was on the book list, it has a lot of things, and you'll be using them as we progress through the program. So let's work together at the end of class to make sure you can get in there. Where were we at? Okay, so you should have something like this, a page that has FA Davis, and it has your products here. I use this MedSurg book a lot, and so that's why it shows up under my favorites. You might have to go under this My Products and kind of look to see all of these other, I mean, I probably have more books in here than you guys do, but you should have all of your books there. So going back to FA Davis, there's a couple things I want you guys to know. You're going to get a physical book. That's great. You also have an ebook. So you can click on this to go and opens up your ebook. Super helpful. If it opens. There's a lot of good resources in the ebook, or just if you don't like some helpful hints, like if you're in unit 1 and you were reading through chapter 1 and you were saying, oh gosh, where was it that we talked about S-bar? You guys know you can do Control F for find, and then you can put in S-bar and it shows up here, it's mentioned 7 times and it highlights where it says S-bar. So that's a nice way to be able to toggle through your ebook to find specific things. And anyway, going back to this FA Davis, you are going to use Davis Advantage for this class. So when you go to Davis Advantage, here, I've got a lot of different classes already. Here we go. This is your guys' class, the Davis Advantage for Understanding Medical Surgical Nursing. I'm going to click on Preview Student view so you guys can see what it will look like for you specifically. So you do have to register for the class in FA Davis. That, remember, that code is here under like the week 1 or underneath the welcome resource page. So if you haven't registered for it, this is the code to get into the FA Davis class. Is that here? Is that here? Here it is. So this is what it shows up for you. And I know it is kind of confusing because it has all of these assignments and they're all shuffled together. I don't like to put dates on them in FA Davis because sometimes I change the dates in Canvas and then it won't connect to FA Davis. So they're just all here. So when you go in, oh Lord. Okay, we're gonna forget about Zoom for this minute. So just make sure when you go into FA Davis, just know your assignments here, you don't have to start on fluid and electrolytes, right? That's a lot later in the term we're talking about it. You need to go in and find the assignment that it tells you in Canvas. So like the clinical thinking, critical, this doesn't all show up for you guys, does it? This can't be right.
Yeah, that's pretty, like, so confusing.
Huh. Why did
Like, you all, if you all. Yeah. Because I wasn't seeing it as like a teacher, I was seeing it all.
Yeah.
Then once I like, I don't know how I got it, but once I went into it, all, I did it all at the top.
Oh,
I
here
had
it
to
is.
leave off.
Here's your class. I think okay, here it is. So critical thinking, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Instead of doing fluid and electrolytes, you're going to scroll down and you're going to do the critical thinking, clinical judgment, edge quizzing, right? There's 3 different types of assignments in FA Davis. They're going to all show up together like this on your homepage. I would say go up to your assignments tab here, and here you can click through and look at personalized learning, clinical judgment, or quizzing. You're gonna have a lot more quizzing assignments. Every week you'll have a quizzing assignment. Not every week will you have the other ones. So how they're graded. Personalized learning and clinical judgment, that's a complete and incomplete. If you guys do those, you get full credit for them. They're more difficult. The personalized learning kind of like, it's like a little mini lesson. The clinical judgment actually takes you through NCLEX style questions. The quizzing do have NCLEX style questions, but they're not like a case study that kind of evolves and gives you more information. The quizzing, I give you the score that you get on your quiz. So if you get 2 out of 10 correct, you get 20%. Here's what I do to make it a little bit nicer for you. It's due, that quiz assignment is due 8 a.m. the morning of class. So you make sure to take it before class. Later in the day after class, I reset this assignment in FA Davis so that it clears everybody's scores and you're able to take it again. So that way, after class, after we've had lecture, you can go back and take the quiz again and say, hey, hopefully you do better than you did the first time, right? So please don't be worried about, only getting a 2 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10 or 5 out of 20, whatever it is. I suggest taking the quizzes as a true assessment. Like I wouldn't use your books at that time because I want to make sure that it gives you an actual gauge of how you understand the material. And so just go back and do the quiz again. Now you don't have to. If you like your score, if you're like, I am happy with this, you don't have to redo the quiz. It's just an option for you.
Better.
Yeah, so what do? Is you still have to upload it in the Canvas the first time. If you choose to go back and do it again, you're going to upload the other one into Canvas as well. And then I'll regrade it in Canvas. Yeah. Any questions about the FA Davis? Yeah.
Download our results like we did in
Mhm.
ETI.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show us how to do that? 'Cause I took a screenshot, I wasn't sure.
Screenshots are great. I'm trying to see as a, sorry, I don't want to give you all of everybody's info. Let me look after class with you. Yeah, and question?
Yeah, I was just asking, so I just took a screenshot of my score.
Mhm.
It didn't show me anywhere
To download the results? Okay, maybe everybody was just doing screenshots last time, which that's totally fine to do that. Yeah.
For mine, when I have active for all options, like break it down. Yeah, the PLT is where I break down, but I only get exact variance.
Okay, let me look with you afterwards. Yeah. Oh, that's totally fine. Uh-huh. Oh, and that worked? Yeah. And that helped to see it better? Okay, that's good. Thank you. Were there other, yeah,
This, ECD, your, assignment of the computer, just take a picture.
yeah, totally fine. As long as there's some sort of, like, you just show me you did the assignment, what the score is. I can go into FA Davis, but Canvas is where it stores all the information. The FA Davis courses get reset. And so they like us to keep records, right? So if anybody's like, wait a second, I got this score on this thing, I'm able to go into Canvas and say, yeah, like, this is the score that you got on it. Here's the copy of the results. Any other questions? Nope. After class, let's all get together and do, like if anybody has FA Davis issues, let's get together and like look through them so that we can all make sure we're in the class, we're on the same page, have all that. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? Lessons, breaks. Oh, next week. Next week you have your individual project. It's not that big of a deal. We're gonna talk about gerontology next week. And so you guys, for your individual project, are gonna be assigned a certain body system, and you're gonna explain how getting older and the aging process affects that body system. So if you go to week 2, gerontology individual project, this is usually how I structure my assignments. I want to give you a why for a lot of it. So I'm not going to read the why for you, but your tasks are to read this chapter, and then you're going to answer on this discussion board, thinking about your specific body system that you're assigned. What are 3 age-related changes for that system? And not just what are the changes, you have to describe what is normal versus abnormal, right? So if it's about integumentary, like skin, you're going to say, well, skin is normally, has a certain amount of elasticity in this, and you lose that elasticity and it gets less when you're older. Like you're describing normal versus abnormal. You're going to name 3 ways that those changes are going to affect people's lives. You're going to plan 3 nursing care activities for those patients that have those changes. So sticking with skin, how are you going to help protect their skin? What are you going to do to help keep them safe with that? And then you're going to identify 1 safety measure that promotes safety for patients for whatever the change was. You're going to give your reply by Thursday, 6/20. Then you're also going to reply to peers. So you're going to look at your peers' posts. I mean, I encourage you to look through a lot of them, but I only require you to respond to 2 peers and say, hey, what did you learn about the system that they spoke about? Please make sure it's somebody else. Like if you did skin, I mean, if you learned something from somebody else who talked about skin, that's great too. But you might learn more if you look into other people's systems as well. The peer replies, the reason why I give them extension is because I want everybody to have posted first. And then you have a chance to go through and read and make your comments. That makes sense? So much? Okay. Yeah.
How do you know which topic?
Oh, great question. Before I get there, I do put rubrics on all my assignments. So I put a picture of it here as well. So please know, if you want to know how to get good grades on my assignments, read the rubric. Follow the rubric and you'll get a good grade. If you don't, you won't. So how do you know what group you're in? So for me, I think as an instructor, it looks a little bit different. Do you guys have a people thing on your side? That's where I go see it. Under people, I have a tab that says everybody, and then I made a tab this morning that says week 2 body system. Are you guys able to see that? Oh, okay. So maybe on your home page of Canvas, it might show groups. Yeah, it's locked.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it's unlocked.
No, the one that you're in is gonna be unlocked.
Oh, yes, you probably just can't see. If it's locked, that means you're not in that group. You can open up the group that you're in. So if you're having trouble finding which system that you're in, let's go ahead and we'll talk about it during the break as well. Okay, I feel like this is actually a pretty good time for a short break. We've had a lot of like mental engagement and learning. So how about let's do 10 minutes. We're gonna come back at 10 till, and we're gonna do our first Menti, which I'm really excited about. So go ahead, take a break, get some coffee, go to the bathroom, look at F.A. Davis.